The best way to describe an island is to say it's the opposite of Atlantis. If there's a more clear definition, I haven't heard it. Unfortunately, some islands are disappearing, with the Lord Poseidon raising sea levels. Before they disappear, I thought we'd look at some of the strangest and most mysterious islands. Palmyra Atoll lies 1,000 miles south of Hawaii. It's known as a remote island paradise, but would be much less well known if it were not said to be cursed. From its discovery, passing ships would try and avoid the island as so many had been wrecked on its coral reefs. In the 19th century, it was said paranormal forces pulled ships towards reefs, leaving sailors stranded. There are stories of pirate crews finding themselves marooned on the island, and in the 1970s a married couple were brutally murdered on the island. Or at least one of them was. The husband's remains were never found. They went missing after sailing to Palmyra. Their killers were found later that year sailing the couple's yacht. Many strange happenings have been reported on and around Palmyra. At one time, an airplane literally fell into the ocean while passing over the island. It was not the last aircraft to disappear above Palmyra. Por Bajin lies in a lake surrounded by mountains. On the island is a ruined medieval structure that looks like some kind of fortress. It was an especially grand structure for its age, and it's unknown what the island actually was. Some believe it was a prison built by a Central Asian empire. Others think it was a palace lived in by imperial family members before an earthquake ruined it. It's thought the structure was abandoned after the earthquake and left to fall apart. The island was then forgotten about until being rediscovered in 1891. Rumours soon emerged of the islands being cursed by a warlock long ago, and so locals came to believe a cursed Dark Age island prison was hidden in the mountains. There's an island in Norway where people are required by law to carry a gun in case polar bears attack them. It's actually a remote collection of Norwegian islands. Anyone leaving towns or settlements will need to bring a gun to defend against hungry bears. 3,600 polar bears call the islands home, as opposed to just 2,600 humans, so the polar bears could take over if things get out of hand. It's a good thing humans have guns. These Norwegians would be in trouble. Although if a bear is shot dead, police will investigate it just like they would if a human was killed. Hopefully soon a peace treaty may be signed between human people and polar bear people. Chiloe is a Chilean island said to be occupied by evil witches. Legend tells that in the late 19th century a group of male witches lived in secret on the island. After years of kidnapping children from local villages, known members were rounded up and put on trial. After days of torture, they admitted everything. To become a witch, they would murder someone they love and use their skin to bind a book of spells. Dozens were killed, but many other witches escaped execution, fleeing inside a hidden cave. It was inside this cave the witches performed rituals on kidnapped children. Vengeful parents who found the entrance were met by the creature guarding it, a strange deformed zombie strong enough to tear a person limb from limb. It's loyal to whoever feeds it, but only the witches know how to without it killing you. Some say the witches' covens still live on the islands today. The Croatian island of Daxa is known as the Island of Ghosts. Near the end of the Second World War, dozens of suspected Nazi collaborators were taken to the island and executed. It's unclear how many were killed or if any of them actually worked with the Nazis. Either way, at least 48 were executed by communists on the island, and it has since been said their ghosts haunt it. This hasn't helped the island's owner, who can't sell the island as no one wants to buy a haunted island famous only for a brutal massacre. On the island you'll find several abandoned buildings, a Victorian lighthouse and a 13th century monastery being among them. It's said that from looking out of the lighthouse most ghosts can be seen. The Philippines has a bunch of weird islands. On one island is a lake, within that lake is an island. On that island is another lake, within that lake is an island. It's just a tiny island, nothing interesting about it, apart from it being inside a lake, which is inside a volcanic island, surrounded by a bigger lake inside an island. It's mental. Up next we have Iceland. I'll tell you why Iceland is a strange island. More than 50% of its population believe in elves and fairies. They genuinely believe in the existence of mythical creatures. A few years ago, the government was building a road near to the Icelandic capital, but it was met by protesters claiming the new road would disturb fairies. Apparently, elves can be seen wearing old-timey clothing and only being a few feet tall. Some Icelanders also believe in dwarves, who are more bad-tempered than elves and fairies but still generally good-natured. Some polls suggest 80% of people in Iceland believe it's possible they exist. So in other words, Iceland is the best country on Earth. Nazino Island is far from any sign of human civilization. As a tiny island in the middle of Siberia, early Soviets thought it a good place to send undesirable citizens. They were mostly petty criminals or people who opposed Stalinism. 6,000 were sent here in 1933, given only flour and abandoned. With no way to cook the flour they had been given and no shelter, it was clear they had been left to die. Some tried to escape, but even if they could make it past the freezing water and strong current, they would still be stranded in the Siberian wilderness. Starvation drove many on the island to cannibalism. When an islander died, those around their corpse would fight over the meat. Its population tore itself apart. None survived long, and Nazino is now known as Cannibal Island. In Japan, there's an island full of rabbits. Rabbits are fluffy cowards, but the bunnies on this island are not timid at all as they have no predators. It's unknown why the island is full of rabbits. The island was once a chemical weapons production facility, and so all humans and animals were evacuated. That's why the rabbits have no predators, but like I said, it's unknown how they got here. I like to think they built ships and sailed to the island, perhaps with the goal of launching some kind of bunny republic, but of course, rabbits can't maintain a country. Medieval maps often featured an island in Europe called Thule. Thule was first mentioned by ancient Greek explorers who told of its strange inhabitants. It was said that Thule had no nights in the summer, just constant sunshine, and no days in the winter, just darkness. Perhaps this was why the island's population grew deformed and had strange diets. Some who claimed to visit Thule told that many different tribes call the island home, each wishing to rule it. The problem is, we today don't know the identity of the island, if it even existed. Different scholars suggest multiple islands that could have once been called Thule. It could have been Iceland, or Norway's Smola, or Estonia's Ossel. Some even believe Thule is real, but hasn't yet been discovered.